It's weeb time.
It's weep time.
Yeah. We got this trailer. I'm not gonna play the audio, obviously. Which is too bad because there's a lot of talking in it. We got to see, I would say, more about not just the potential story and the environments, but I think we got more perspective on maybe some of the mechanics we'll see in the game. There was the I guess like the mirror where you combine with somebody and you become a giant mech, which I don't know. I mean, obviously, like a lot of Xenoblade things you would expect to see too, like all these like mechs and things like that. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit at some point here. Oh no, actually I won't, because here you go. Then we got to see some combat sequences, which obviously we'll talk about. I did notice that there was that break mechanic still in there when I watched this before. So some of those mechanics are going to return, like break. I would imagine topple and slam are going to be back. Looks like some enemies are coming back. Like, in fact, what looks like almost the exact same enemies are coming back. This creepy guy, whatever. And we just got this long trailer to really showcase several things in the game that we'll be seeing and interacting with and using as you play the game. So here they show them combining, and there you go, there's the actual mechanic. These two characters combine together and become a giant mech suit, which makes absolutely no sense, but you know, whatever, magic. And I think that's just like a lot of what we see in this. Spoon?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a cool trailer. It showed a lot more than the initial trailer did. There was some more story stuff, but we actually got to see some gameplay. We got to see some of the combat mechanics. The main new mechanic of the game seems to be this interlink or like fusion mechanic where two characters combine into one.
Yep.
And yeah, some sort of familiar Xenoblade things you can see in both the UI and the like break topple. It seems like they're combining both Xenoblade 1 and 2 with the break that system, because days, you can see it in this trailer, days exists, which that was in Xenoblade 1, but launch also exists, and that was in Xenoblade 2. So It seems like after you topple, you can either daze or you can launch, and those will probably have different benefits depending on which one.
That would make sense. What? I think you cut out a little bit for me.
Yeah, I think I had a spectrum blip there.
Oh, you had a blip. Okay, well, yeah, there you go. And then the biggest surprise was at the very end of the trailer when it said it's coming out in a few months, which it was supposed to be out in September.
Yep.
So July 29th is the release date now of Xenoblade 3. Okay. Spoon, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? I think I have less to say. I just have my PowerPoint presentation.
I think you should go first because you have much less to say.
Oh God, much less.
Well, I don't know about much less, but you probably have less to say than I do. Before you go into your elaborate PowerPoint presentation, which we talked about a little bit yesterday when we were planning.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
I know you are a casual like Xenoblade and casual JRPG fan in general, but I would like to hear your general thoughts on the game, like this trailer, the game, and etc.
Okay, I'll give my general thoughts first then. I think that is fair. I think my general thoughts are I do think that it was a good trailer. I can't really say too much visually about the game as far as like the graphics are concerned. I didn't see enough to really give and say like, oh, it's just so much better than the previous game. I mean, it's on the Switch. It's probably going to be some improvement, but not much. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. still gonna have Switch issues. Let's be honest. Like,
it's still going to be me thinking the whole time, can we please put this on something else?
Can this be on PC, please? That would be
just
great.
Something else, like even on a PlayStation or an Xbox. This would just look so much better.
PS4, or Xbox One, even.
It would just look so much better. I do think that I have a couple other thoughts. I think the voice acting was pretty good. I was very critical of the voice acting before. I think it's better. I think it's better in this. Obviously, I'll see during if and when I play this how much better it is, but it sounded better. It sounds like you still got the same, that same accent from that like British
UK accents,
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
British, Scottish, Welsh.
That's it. Welsh. You heard some Welsh.
Yeah.
It sounded better to me though, so that was a positive. I mean, the combat itself, it looks like there's a lot to it. Like Xenoblade 2 was a lot to digest, but when you figured it out, it was good. Like you could really set up some big damage combos. I'm assuming that's going to be here too, so that'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't really get much from the combat beyond just like, oh, breaks back. There's some other things in there, because we didn't really see full fights, so it's hard to say. The mech thing is just like conceptually weird. Like two people combine and become a mech. Weird. It was a weird concept to digest, but it's Xenoblade. Like, you sometimes just gotta throw your hands up in the air, and go whatever, magic.
There will probably be some really crazy story reason for why that's a thing that you'll learn at the end of the game or something like that. So
if I say magic though, it justifies it. So magic happened. Some magic happened.
At this point, it's just magic. Yeah.
I don't really have too much to say on the story itself though. I feel like you get like a nugget of information, but this story cannot be conveyed in 3 minutes effectively. There's no possibility that that's ever going to happen. There are some games where you can convey a story in 3 minutes and you probably know what's going to happen. Like I'll just pick a really easy one. You know what's going to happen in Dead Space in 3 minutes. I could explain the Dead Space story in 3 minutes to you and it would be everything, pretty much.
It would be less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, it would be less than 3 minutes. Like you could. There are some games you could just explain the story in 3 minutes. You can't do it with Xenoblade. So whatever we got from this, it's like a small egg in a basket of things. It's impossible. There's just too much, which is pretty normal for JRPGs. But like, so like the trailer itself was like, it was interesting. There were some things that I picked up on the second time I watched it that I was like, okay, I see that. I don't know how it translates to where this actually is in like the Xenoblade timeline. Like, where is it going? I assume it's going to be after, but possibly in a different like universe or something. I don't know. It's hard to really know because you saw. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, from what we know, at least, I don't know if they've confirmed this. Maybe they did in the first trailer because there was a statement by the director, and I don't remember if we said this specifically, but basically, either everyone is convinced or it was actually confirmed that it is after Xenoblade. Well, it's after both Xenoblade 1 and 2. We don't know how many years, sometime in the distant future, but the two worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2 have combined into one in some way. Somehow or another. By some measure of magic or whatever it is. Again, I'm sure it will be explained in the lore eventually sometime in the game. The two worlds of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 have combined into one world called Ionios, and there appears to be two warring factions. There is Keeves, and there is, what's the other one called? Starts with an A. I'm blanking. But there's two warring factions, basically, and one seems to be, like, the Xenoblade 1 faction that has, like, Mechon and, like, that type of stuff, and the other seems to be the Xenoblade 2 faction, which is, like, blades, and they manipulate ether the way that blades do in Xenoblade 2.
Okay, got it.
And the leaders of those factions, again, they're masked, but pretty much everyone is convinced the leader of the Xenoblade 1 faction is Melia, who was the female lead in Xenoblade 1, and the leader of the Xenoblade 2 faction is Nia, who was
she's basically the lead in the non-Pyra lead.
The non-Pyra lead.
If we exclude Pyra for a second, Nia's the other lead. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, there's no way to get the whole story though. We got an egg in a 24 egg basket. And you're going to expect me to comprehend it? No. I got what I got. That's it. My other thought was that the UI was horrible.
Yep.
I went back on it again and I thought about it. I can't justify it. It's going to be a claim that I'll take to my grave. and I'm going to give examples. My PowerPoint presentation is beginning now. So let's skip this other article here that just kind of talks about some of those things we just talked about. 7 characters in the party, class changing, interlink system, which we'll touch on here.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
We'll touch on that. Okay, here's my UI drawings. Let me explain these very quickly because I don't want to waste time. Everything in blue is space that's taken up. Everything in red is basically field of view space. Okay, so your party's on the left here. The bottom UI is completely taken up by buttons, which looks like something from a mobile game. And I drew a big square around this thingy in the top right, which is the enemies. Probably could, say that that's actually free space, to be fair. And then you have the health bar. This is like pretty much your free space on the entire screen. Okay? You basically have like a window, and everything else around that window is taken by buttons. Okay? Now, to contrast this to Xenoblade 2, here's the UI in Xenoblade 2. You draw in blue the spaces that are taken up in the UI, which is all this other stuff. Things are tucked away in the corner, which I think I would agree should be there. And your field of view is this big red spot all the way here, and plus the small area at the bottom of the screen. That's your field of view, and even in the top right, because you don't actually see an enemy numbers indicator. There's just like nothing there. So this is your entire field of view. There's still like most of the space taken, but you've got probably more than 50% of the space is free, I would say. I'm like, you could argue it's more than 50%, but for me, it's almost 50-50. Okay? As opposed to this looks like 35% of the screen is free. Okay? This to me is bad UI. You're putting too much on the screen. It's too much information. A casual like myself with 5 brain cells and an IQ of 10 is not going to like this. This is too much information. This tactics thing doesn't need to be here. This can be in a menu. You don't need to put this here, for example. This is like one thing I'm thinking of already. Is having tactics here fine? Sure, it is. I'm not one to like try and mess with tactics like in this capacity on the fly. I think I'd rather go into a pause menu and do that. Or do it before combat. I don't know what this tactics brings up, but it's just like an example. This doesn't need to be here. Even this enemy indicator, this doesn't need to be here. I don't know why it's here. This chain attack thing, why is it enormous? Why is it huge? It looks like the size of it's like a silver dollar. It doesn't need to be that big. That's my complaint in this UI. There's just like way too much space taken up. If you look at other games that are not Xenoblade, I'm going to give 4 examples of other games, okay? And don't worry, I prepared something for this because I know exactly what's going to be said. So this is Mass Effect 2. Let me play my audience member, the Peanut Gallery's comment here real quick. I got an audio clip for it.
But Otto, those are completely different games.
Yep, there it is.
And different genres.
Yep, got it. There's my audio clip as the Peanut Gallery's response to this. These are completely different games from a genre perspective. This is a shooter game. But you notice how there's this UI space is so open. There's really not a lot here. You could have put more here. Like your Mass Effect 2 team members do show up on the bottom here too. There could have been more. You could have put more on all over this screen. You could have, but you didn't. Kingdom Hearts is an action game. UI is very clean, very small because you need the field of view. Makes sense to me. And I like this UI. It's really simple. You got your commands. You can cycle through them in what I would think is pretty easily. And you can see your characters in the health bars. Notice how the characters in the health bars are tiny. This is all you need. I can see Donald's health. It's enough. Here's Genshin Impact. This is probably the most cluttered UI of games I could find outside of Xenoblade. And even it has like 70% of the screen available to it. There's going to be some space that's taken up by like an enemy health bar at the top, which means you have 60%. You probably have 60% of your field of view available to you at any given time. Okay, it's an action game. I get it. You need to be able to see. But they could have eased. This is like the PC version of the game, by the way. The mobile version obviously would probably have a little bit more clutter because the screen is smaller, but like this is a good UI. Like there's information, but it's sized appropriately and it's very simple. This is good. I like this too. Dead Space has no UI, which is great. This is like the perfect example of a game. Like Resident Evil, for example, is like a Dead Space the Dead Space is like almost a clone of that, but in space. And they have UI elements in like the corners and stuff. But Dead Space used the character itself to be your HUD. Your HUD is this character. You 100% could have had a health bar in the corner. You could have had this like stasis thing in a corner. You could have had the ammo next to your health or something. You could have had all this other shit. But instead they said, let's just put the HUD on the character. That's my example of a creative use of a HUD. Okay. Here's all these HUDs that use all like very little space. And then there's Xenoblade 2, which takes up all the space. This is my complaint. You're taking up too much space. Can you free it up? Could these character things have been smaller? Probably. I like the pictures, though. I actually do like that they put the pictures here. I told Spoon this. I actually liked this. Just looking at it. It's kind of cool to actually see the characters' faces and all this. And this is more compact than Xenoblade 2, so I'm going to give it some credit. This bottom screen, though, I hate it. It looks like a phone game. And I hate it. I think this bottom screen, I think these should have been tucked in the corner. Spoon has enlightened me that there's going to be like a line in between certain things in the middle to connect when attacks are like synced up with each other. You could have done it differently than a little line in between these. You could have done anything differently. Tuck these in the corner. Give me the bottom of the screen. I've got like 35% of the screen available to me to see. And I don't like it. Okay, that's my PowerPoint presentation. Thanks for stopping by. Please feel free to
a TED Talk.
Please disagree with me so that I can say, sure, that's fine. I'm a casual. It's hard with 5 brain cells to comprehend things. I'd like to see you try it. But this is like, for someone like me that is not, I quite literally am a deer in the headlights when it comes to, if you show me this, it's like putting me in front of an airplane control panel. I don't know what to press. I'm so confused. There's so many things to press. I'm sure after like 5 hours in the game, everything will light up and it'll be clearer and then everything will be solved. But good God, I just every time I look at this, I think it's a phone game. I can't do it. So that's my complaint. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, you should. I think you should. Okay, yeah.
No, I'm
leave.
just...
You can leave that image of the UI up.
I will leave it. Okay, I'll grab it and leave it up. Hold on. I have to figure out which one it is. Okay, it's this one. Whoops! And now it's gone. Oof. Is this it? I don't know if it's this. It's not this one. Is it this one? I got it! Huzzah! I got it. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna comment on the UI as well.
Okay,
I'm not going to 100% disagree with you.
Sure.
Because I think things could be smaller, or put in the corners a little bit more. The chain attack thing, especially to me, I'm like, I don't know why this is here and why it's so big. This could be at the top of the screen, either between your characters and the enemy, or no, like there's an icon that shows up there for break. Between the enemy indicator on the top right, and the enemy health bar, it could be up there, which doesn't really obscure any necessary screen space, because that's the freaking sky. There's not going to be anything up there.
Sure, why not? Yeah, no, sure.
And it could be smaller. It could fit in that little cubby that you have right there that's not highlighted in any color, and be like that size. It would be a little smaller than it is now, but you could still see it, and that would be fine. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why this is so big and why it is where it is. The enemy indicator thing as well. This is too far out of the corner for me. I feel like they could have literally tucked it up in the corner. Sure. Instead of like a couple inches away from the corner. I don't know why it's there. Same thing, like the enemy health bar, I think could be a little higher and a little smaller as well. Like they
Sure.
could reduce the size of that. I agree with you. I actually like the party UI on the
Mhm.
left. It doesn't take up that much space. It's pretty narrow horizontally. Like obviously it takes up a lot of vertical space, but I
Yeah,
don't
but
think that
that's
really.
okay.
But
That's
it's on the
okay.
side of the screen. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, it's pretty small. So like this was like my smallest complaint of the UI is the character side was, and like you can see the indicators for buffs really like compressed in. That was
Yeah.
a good use of space. So I agree.
The part at the bottom. I think it's too big. And I do agree that maybe they could have tucked them in the corners, but again, they have that. There's apparently going to be a game, or at least people have deduced that there is going to be a gameplay mechanic where the arts on the left and the right, like link up, and either I don't know if they power each other up or they can be used in tandem or exactly how that works. But like there's a line that will connect like glow ring and ground beat, which are both the ones on the top,
Mhm.
and then the same with the middle ones, and there possibly could be a third one on the bottom on the left side as well. So you could have 3 arts that could like there would be a line, and then like yeah, you like either use them together and it does something cool. I don't know if it's like a combo art, or again it's just both using them both at the same time. I don't exactly know how that works, but
Mhm.
that is the gameplay reason, at least people are deducing why it's close together like that, as opposed to them being pushed in the corner like it is in Xenoblade 2. But otherwise, it's a different color and a little bit different. Like they use like diamonds in Xenoblade 2, and there's like circles in this one. But yeah, it's a different color. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same as Xenoblade 2's UI. The 4 buttons on the right correspond to the locations of the 4 base face buttons on the controller.
Yep.
So the bottom art would be B, the left art is Y, and the top art is X,
Yep.
and the one on the right is A, which in this again it looks like kind of your special again that's going to charge up over time, because that's grayed out right now and it's not going to activate until you charge it up.
Yep.
And then on the left, again, I believe those buttons are going to correspond to the directional buttons on the controller, like they did in Xenoblade 2. In Xenoblade 2, they were for swapping blades, but in this, they're arts, and the interlink button, which is the character fusion mechanic. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't entirely disagree with you, but I think everything's there. I don't think there's any information here given that is unnecessary. Things are a little too big,
Mhm.
but also with a lot of the UI elements, actually most of them, now that I'm looking at it, they are somewhat translucent, so you can kind of see through them. Like you can see the characters behind the UI. At the bottom there.
Yep.
And see what's going on, but still you're able to read the UI. So I don't know. I understand some people may have complaints about it. This is Xenoblade. They have complex combat systems. Most, if not all, of the information that is displayed on the screen is useful, if not necessary.
Mhm.
And also Xenoblade, like, it's not like it's an action RPG like Kingdom Hearts, so you need to be dodging things and doing combos and having more precise button inputs. Like, this is it's not quite turn-based, but, your positioning matters a little bit, so that you need to be able to know. But generally, there's no, like, dodging of AoEs or anything. Like, attacks just happen, and they do damage, and the combat system is more about like cooldown and resource management and comboing and getting your big damage when you can, and then maybe using a chain attack for big damage and dunking things. Basically, it's about using your cooldowns and your resources like at the right time effectively to be able to like succeed in combat in these games. So yeah, that's kind of my counter argument in a way, or the way I see it. But again, I understand your complaint in that the UI is just kind of too big and too clunky and takes up too much space.
It's a lot. But yeah. Yep. That's my complaint. That's it. I have no other complaints regarding the trailers. I mean, there's not much else for me to really say in negative. I thought a lot of other things are great though. Like I was just very happy with some of the things that I thought were improved. So that was mostly it. The UI thing, like I said, it's every person has their own perspective on that. I'm sure there are some people out there that looked at this and like, oh my god, it's amazing. I can't believe I can use the tactics from here. Like, yeah, that's definitely like somebody might find that useful. But for me, whenever I have like tactics, something like that are actually good tactics, I just want to pause the game. I don't even want to have to like hold a button. I don't want to do any of that. If it's really good tactics, I'll pause the game. 100% pause it. But then
Yeah.
again, I haven't experienced a lot of good games with like not like exactly like this, but I don't really experience a lot of games with good tactics. So
I think that tactics button, I mean, maybe there will be a tactics menu somewhere in the menus, but I think that tactics button is going to be for more basic stuff like, hey, focus on this enemy, hey, all out attack, defend, come to me,
right.
like basic commands like that, where you could like press that button and then like press one other button to like give a very general basic command, and that's it. I don't think it's going to be complex like while you're in combat.
It should be. That's why I would assume it is. But yeah, like if it's like good tactics, I don't want it to be there. Like if it's anything more significant than like this attack this enemy, like group attack this enemy or something like that, then I'm gonna be like, no, not here. Pause menu, please. I'll pause immediately. But you know, I expect most tactics in games to be like that simple. I don't really experience a lot of tactics in games that are complex, and when I do and they work, it's great. In games that it doesn't work, sorry, Tails. Sorry. In games like that, it doesn't work too well. It's frustrating. So.
Yep.
Okay, it's your turn now.
Yeah.
I'll keep this picture, but I'll move to a different screen.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I agree with what you've said about the trailer. I think the game looks really good. It looks like they've made some interesting changes and improvements. The voice acting sounded good from the trailer. The story sounds interesting, especially those who have played all of the previous games and are gonna, you know, I mean, the characters are all different for the most part, but yeah, for people who are fans of the series and like know all the lore and, you know, that kind of stuff, I think it'll be good. The story seems interesting. And yeah, the moved up release date was honestly, I mean, we skimmed over it a little bit, but that is something that does not happen very often, hardly ever, with game releases, especially these days. Usually once a studio or publisher or whatever has put out a release date for a game, the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to get pushed back.
Yeah,
it's either going to come out on that date or they're going to have to delay it because they need more time.
Yeah, that's what I expected. I never expect something to actually get pushed up. That was interesting.
And this is only the second trailer we've gotten from the game. The first trailer was a couple months ago at the last Nintendo Direct. It said September.
Yep.
Now we get this trailer about 2 months later, and it's July 20. We get an official release date, and it's about a month and a half earlier than what we expected. Again, assuming like around mid-September, which, again, we don't know when in September exactly they were targeting. One thing that I guess people have said about the release date are that people are speculating, again, this is not known, but it's speculation, that Splatoon is taking a little longer than they are expecting. That game is supposed to come out over the summer, and most of September is technically still summer, but that basically they wanted Splatoon to come out in maybe late July or early August, something like that, and it's going to take a little longer, and Xenoblade is ready to go, so they're like, alright, we'll just flip Splatoon and Xenoblade basically, and like, yeah, we'll have Xenoblade come out at the end of July, and we'll push Splatoon into like September or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
again, it's complete speculation, but it does make sense from like a marketing and like release standpoint.
Yeah, if you're able to do that, I think you do that.
Yeah. The only like, I don't think this is the case. The only worry though is that like Xenoblade isn't ready, like isn't going to be ready by that time, and Nintendo's like, no, but we need something to release over the summer, so we're gonna push it up. I don't think that is the case.
Yeah,
but
I don't think so either. You have Mario Strikers coming out in June, right?
Yep.
Like that's a good summer release, and Fire Emblem. I don't know if it's that would be weird. Like Nintendo's already got two what I would consider our big releases coming out in June. Like, I mean, if they had to delay Splatoon, right? And Xenoblade wasn't theoretically ready for the July one, wouldn't they just keep them both back and just say, okay, well, we have two big releases that aren't necessarily related?
Yeah, they're pretty different.
So I don't know. That one I find harder to believe than the swap. The swap I could actually say, okay, well, if the game's ready, we can just get it in the summer and just get it out there because we're having to delay something else. Like, that's great.
Yeah, and they don't really have anything announced for July or August right now. Nothing big, at least. Like, there's Live Alive is in July as well. I think it's the week before Xenoblade, but that's a little bit more of a minor release compared to something like Xenoblade. Right. So yeah, no, I mean, again, I just mentioned that as like a possible, like, I hope this is not the case. That they're like pushing it up when it's not going to be ready, because I want the team to get all the time that they need to finish up the game. But,
yeah, my concern would be something like, I'm not saying this is going to happen. My only concern is when you push up, somebody said, okay, we're going to push up, but you got to crunch. Yeah, that's my concern. Sure. It's like, well, if you're going to force a crunch, just leave it back. Like, just keep it back there. Like, yeah, I think it's fine.
One of the reasons why, again, I think this is not the case is that the statement, I think, that Takahashi, who is the like director and producer like at Monolith on like their main titles, which is this one obviously, he said in his statement that like they were at that point, which was 2 months ago, they were already kind of in the like final adjustment phase of they were just kind of tweaking things and like getting it ready for release. So
okay,
I think it's pretty much ready, and they're just kind of deciding when they want it to come out.
Yeah,
basically, they're just like they're working out kinks, doing some late stage QA stuff, and just tweaking basically to finish the game up.
That leads me to think then that somebody said, when can we get this out? And the response was, let's just say September to be safe. Let's just put like a really far date to be conservative. And then they went back and said, hey, when is the actual release? When could it actually be? And then they said, end of July, and that's when it got updated. I mean, I'm actually all for people doing that and being more conservative and saying, oh, when do you think it'll be out? September. That's my conservative thought.
It's like, let's go fall. Okay, September. That's fine.
September. There you go. Yeah, that's conservative. That's fine. Like, it's still exciting. So that's probably what happened, which I think is better than doing something like saying July 29th first, and then not being conservative, and then just trying to be like, oh well, we can do it then. It's like, why don't you just be safe? That's a good thought process. But anyway, keep going.
So yeah, again, my thought and opinion based on most of the information that we know, or my speculation, is that it's the good part, the good half of that, what we talked about. It's just that the game's ready, and maybe they need to push Splatoon back, maybe not, but the game's ready, and Nintendo gave the okay for an earlier release date, so they're going to release it over the summer, which is cool. We're getting it, again, about a month and a half earlier than we were expecting, so it's nice.
Yes.
And as far as the game itself, I mean, there's some new interesting mechanics. There's some things you can see in the trailer that, if you kind of pause and slow things down, you can notice some things. What we talked about before with break topple launch or break topple days.
Yeah.
Again, both those mechanics appear to be in the game. You can see
There.
you can see both days and launch at some point in the trailer, so you know that they're both going to be there.
There's Break, by the way. And I'll find that one. Keep going. I'll find the other ones.
And also in this that very first gameplay clip, actually, if you'll
no, I'm going.
You can see when they start the combat, they all like draw their weapons like you expect. And there's actually an interesting thing where it looks like Noah, the main character, when it's being controlled, does a little like hop, or looks like a little quick step type thing to the left. So we don't really know what that is. If it's like, is it a dodge mechanic? Is it just a way to move a little bit faster? Yeah. So there have been some theories on that. We don't really know what that's gonna be, but and the other thing to notice in that first clip as well is that after he does that little hop, that the little arrow above the right hand side of the UI turns from facing up to facing to the right. And again, what people are saying they think that is what that arrow means. It's like a facing indicator, so that you know when you're going to be able to do your positionals. That's telling you you're at the side of the enemy, and therefore you will get your critical hit on any attack that is hit from the side.
Oh, that makes sense, actually. I just noticed it right here. So if you go right here, this character is attacking from the front, and then the enemy moves to the side, and the indicator turns. Yep.
Yeah, it turns.
Yep, makes sense.
And I don't think we see the back here, but I would assume if the arrow is facing down, that means you're behind the enemy, and you can get any back attacks. So, again, that's a new little thing they added to the UI, which is actually really useful in Xenoblade, because sometimes it's a little hard to tell exactly with your positionals, and Xenoblade 2, not as much, but Xenoblade 1, if you're playing as Shulk, who's the main character, backslash is his most damaging ability by far, and if you're not behind them when you do it, it really doesn't do very much damage. So it's really important that you're behind the enemy in that game for your backslashes. So again, that's a nice little thing that they seem to have added to the UI. And yeah, chain attacks seem to function quite differently. Nobody really understands how this works yet. We get a very short clip of it. There's some sort of like TP system going on. We don't know if there's like a TP meter in the top right. There's and it seems, I don't know if those are like a TP cost thing. There's like, that purple number above all the characters in the bottom left.
Yep.
Again, I don't know if it's like it's a math thing where you want to like build it up to 100% and then you'll get some sort of bonus, or if it's like a cost thing where each attack does a certain thing. I mean, yeah, it's gonna work differently than it has in the previous games, though. But we can't really tell how it works from the from what we see in that clip. Other things that we see the fusion system or the interlink system in combat, and another interesting thing about it is that it appears when you fuse with a character, you're basically you're gonna be invincible, or you're not gonna take health damage. Your health is replaced by that little sort of charging meter, and your health bar goes away.
Yeah.
So, and there have been some articles that talk like if you use your fusion too much or for too long, then it's going to overheat. I assume that's like a heat. It's like your heat meter. It just seems to build up over time. We can't see what happens when it overheats because we haven't seen it go all the way to the top. So maybe you get stunned for a bit. Maybe it just ends. Yeah, we don't know what happens when it overheats, but yeah, there's like that heat meter going up. And there's also that like level thing. It says like level 0 there. And I think there's other clips where you may see it at like level 1 or level 2, but we don't really know how that works. If it builds up over combat, if it's something that builds up over the course of the game, we have no idea how, like, what that level system is or how that works. let's see. I think that's most of it. Yeah, the characters in the game all have a specific role and class, which you can see with the indicators on the bottom left of their portrait. Red Sword is a DPS character, Blue Shield is a tank, and the green kind of staff-looking icon is a support or healer.
Yep.
But they've also said that you're going to be able to basically class change. You're going to be able to make any character into any class.
Okay.
So you could, basically swap Noah and Mio and have Mio be the sword fighter and Noah be the ring.
The ring. Ring character.
It's an evasion. They've said it's an evasion tank basically. Okay. So it's like Dunban in Xenoblade 1 or Morag in Xenoblade 2, who's the evasion tank in that game.
Yep.
And Lons is the like Tora/Ryan tank, where they're just kind of like a big ball of hit points. And Noah's like your standard sword fighter. Senna has a big ol' hammer, so she's just gonna probably have like slower attacks that just hit really hard.
Yep.
Uni seems like, I think they call her like gunner healer, so that's actually kind of like Charla, but she has like a staff, but it like doubles as a gun as well.
Okay.
And then Tyone has like these little origami things that fly around him. We don't exactly know what he does in combat, but he's also support, maybe like buffs and debuffs and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's most of what we can determine, like, based on what we've seen in the combat. So you can class, as I said, you can class change between them, and I did see something that said that you're going to be able to, you could have more than one of each if you wanted. You could have like, 2 or 3 sword fighters if you wanted, maybe at some point in the game. But we haven't seen any of that. All the clips we've seen, there was just one of each, basically. So,
but they did swap in this one. Like this one has some swapped roles.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah, because some clips at the end, you notice that the roles are swapped, and you can even see the character that they're playing as. Like, it has Noah's clothes, but that's Lons, because you can see his, like that's Lons' white hair.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a different
And you can see Lons with the attacker indicator on him, so, like, Noah and Lons are swapped in this one.
Yep. I'm just trying to see. Okay,
so, yeah.
They swapped here, too.
Yeah.
There's some more swaps here. Interesting. Wait a minute.
So
I see this on the bottom. Riku and Manana. Oh god, that's a guest character to the party, right?
Yeah.
That's a guest character. And it's got a no pawn. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Those no pawns.
Yeah, I guess that's the one other thing that I didn't talk about. There will be some points in the game where they've said there's going to be 7 characters in the party. The 7th character will always be a guest character of some kind. In this case, it's Riku and Manana, who are, I guess, 2 no pawns who.
Oh, it's 2.
It's 2 no pawns who make 1 character in the 1 battle character.
And it's a DPS character. Oh boy, they made it a DPS character.
Yeah.
What a good idea.
There's a couple other guest characters you can see throughout the trailer if you skip around, but it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there's the. Yeah, to me it looks like a little bit like the left and right side of the art panel are like, the right side is the main character that you're controlling, and the left side is like the character that they are linked to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. Yep, I see.
So yeah, because I don't think you can change who you're linked to, because the interlink thing they've said is specific between the 3 pairs, which is Mio and Noah, Lons and Senna, and then Uni and Tyone. Those are the 3 pairs. But it looks like, the linking of the arts and stuff, and the left side of the UI, of the bottom part of the UI, would be able to like use the character you're linked to, like use their arts, basically. At least that's what I think it is. So
That's
Yeah.
Let me try and find a different screen for that. They're like over here or something. Oh, they're already interlinked. Oops. There. Yeah, I would imagine that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can see like glow ring. That sounds like a Mio art to me. So this is like you're playing as Noah and you're linked to Mio. So yeah. Yeah, and I think that's most of what I've been able to deduce and find out based on watching the trailer. I believe you were allowed to. Again, they don't show this, but I think I saw a clip of it somewhere else. In the tactics menu is what I talked about, of just sort of like basic type commands, and then you could also swap between which character you're playing as in the tactics menu when you bring that up. So you can supposedly swap on the fly who you're playing as in combat.
I see.
So yeah, I'm really excited. The combat looks cool and interesting. It's gonna be different than similar but different than Xenoblade 2. Blade combos aren't going to exist anymore from all we can tell. Yeah, and the new big mechanic replacing that would be the interlink fusion mechanic going on here.
Yep.
And I guess the one other thing to say is that hopefully there will be nothing as terrible and annoying as the core crystal / gacha system in Xenoblade 2.
Please no.
Hopefully we just stay away from that.
That would be great.
We'll be good.
That would be fantastic, if I'm being honest. Let's not have that. Let's not have the mercenaries. Let's not have the core crystals in the same way where it's a gacha system. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Okay. Any other stuff, sir?
I think that concludes my rant on Xenoblade 3 for now.
For now.
Well, until we get another trailer or
probably one more. Probably one
the game
more.
We'll probably. I hope. Well, maybe I don't hope, but I think we will get a more extensive, maybe full-blown Xenoblade Direct that's 15 to 20, maybe 30 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Where they actually they play the game a little bit and they maybe dive into and explain some of the new mechanics a little bit, as opposed to us just having to guess what's going on based on very short clips from this trailer.
Yeah, no, there'll definitely be one more. I would imagine one more final trailer leading up to it, possibly a second one after too, making it 3 from the 2 days ago to the release date. Now that would make sense that there's maybe another one, but I mean, maybe there'll be a direct where E3 would have been, and that direct will probably focus on it.
Yeah,
that's what I would expect. Anyway, okay. Well, that's.
I guess the one additional thing I guess I'll ask of you: do you think you're gonna get this on release, or are you gonna wait?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
It depends, because I have a backlog.
That's fair.
My backlog is much bigger than anybody thinks. It's bad. So it's entirely likely that I don't buy it on release, and I know it'll never get discounted because Nintendo doesn't have that in their vocabulary. But
no, they don't.
But I can't imagine I get it. There's a couple other factors as well leading that, because that's the end of July. So in August, I'm kind of busy, actually, in August specifically. I'm going to be traveling a good amount in August. I'll just say that for various different things. So if I bought it on release, I wouldn't even be playing it.
I mean, I guess I don't know exactly what you're doing with your traveling, but it is a Switch game, so you can take it on the
one
go.
of the trips, I will not be bringing any games whatsoever.
Yeah.
One of the trips is a Kate and me trip. That's it.
Yep.
It's a week of Kate and I. No games. There will be 0 games brought on that trip. If I brought a game thing on that trip, it probably wasn't a good trip. which would be bad. So there's no gaming on that trip, and the other ones I'm doing are camping. And I don't like to bring the game systems to camping.
Yeah.
If I'm going camping, I'd like to not bring my Switch. So that's another thing. So I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna necessarily rule out buying it day one. But even if I did, I'm not gonna finish it anytime soon.
No.
It's not gonna happen. I'd have to finish it before school started. And I don't know. Can't really promise that. So I'll say I'm about 25% sure I'll buy it day one. And it's that low for a reason.
Yeah.
Try Courage says honeymoon. That's correct. So if I brought a game system to the honeymoon, not a good idea. That's not not where it's at. That's not it.
Definitely not.
I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. So 25% I think is actually a confident number that I can give.
Yeah. But you'll probably pick it up at some point when you have more time.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I mean, the summer speedrunning, that would be a divorce speedrun. That would just be like dumb. I mean, we're going to Hawaii again for the honeymoon, and I just feel like it'd be a waste. Like, it's not like I'm going to I don't even feel bad saying this. It's not like I'm going to like Montana, you know, like in the summer, Montana, I'm sure it's gorgeous hiking trails and such, but Hawaii is built different for that kind of thing. So